Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 48 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for Gran Turismo's pretty broad selection of hot hatches, older, newer, some more or less powerful. And this is an interesting car, because this is a vehicle which, straight off the bat, is dull, boring, and as far as I'm concerned, is not really a hot hatch. It's only a hot hatch on a technicality, and that is that the definition of a hot hatch can be a normal hatchback with more power, a sporty badge, and a wing, or upgraded body kit of some kind. By that technical definition, this is a hot hatch, but in reality, I don't think many people, if any, would argue with me that this isn't really a hot hatch. It's a gimmick. It's just another 207 that happens to have a bit more power. There's nothing hot about this car at all. It's about as hot as an ice cube. It's just not a hot hatch. Now, in terms of spec, it can seem like one. It's got 175-ish horsepower stock, 352 horsepower fully tuned, which is not bad, 289 foot-pounds of torque. It's even lightweight at 1,030 kilos. But something strange has happened, in my opinion, with particularly French hot hatches over recent years. Because think back to the 80s, even to the late 70s. France had some of the best hot hatches out there. In fact, they almost monopolised the market. You had the Renault 5 Turbo, the Renault 5 GT, the Peugeot 205 Turbo, the 205 T16, the GTI. You had the Group B homologation monsters. You had even Citroens that were hot back then, like the BX GTI and various others. What on earth happened? You went from having France completely dominating the hot hatch market, and cars which people to this day are willing to pay through the nose for because of how good they were and still are, to producing some of the most bland pieces of automotive bread that you could buy. Cars which are essentially the automotive equivalent of being poked in the eye with an electric cattle prod. They're just not worth looking at. They're not hot in any sense of the term. They're just cars. They do the job, of course, and you have to admire them for that. But that's not the point of a hot hatch. If you wanted a car to do the job, you'd just buy the normal one. You want a hot hatch because of what it represents. It's fun, it's loud, it's faster, of course, but that's not even really the point. A hot hatch doesn't need to necessarily be fast in a traditional sense. Look at the Fiat Panda 100 HP. It's not a particularly quick car, all things considered, and yet it's one of the most highly rated super minis ever made, because it does what you want. It's fun. It has passion, style, character. It's chuckable. This car just isn't. Citroens these days, they're not. They don't even try anymore. But why is it even in the series? Because this just sounds like a rant, a tirade against French hot hatches. And yes, it kind of is. I want them to step up their game. I don't hate them. We've seen from the 80s they can make some incredible cars. For some reason, they just don't try anymore. And the market's there. People still buy hot hatches, so they can't say it's because it's not worth their time. So why is this car in the series? Well, for the simple fact that this is not a hot hatch by any means as far as I'm concerned, but what it is a sleeper. It's a car which people don't expect to be as good as it actually can be, and a car which you can pull out if you fancy making people look silly. Because the spec isn't breaking the bank. It's not the best thing ever, of course, but it's got enough of each respective thing to, under the right circumstances, win races. The handling is good, forgiving, beginner-friendly. There's a relatively high amount of grip, dependent on tyres, of course. The weight is nice and low, the power is good enough, and although at 502 pp it is a little high for its own good, it can easily be detuned to say 475, 450, and for 32 grand, which is how much this car costs, it's not that much money to pay out, specifically though for a fan of sleeper cars. If you're the kind of person who likes hot hatches in general, then you probably will want to avoid this car, because it won't give you what you're looking for. If you're a true hot hatch fan, you'll be disappointed with this, because it doesn't have any of that passion, that charisma. Whereas if you're somebody who likes sleeper cars, which is a completely different passion in itself, then this certainly will do it for you. It doesn't look like anything, but it can be made to be a winner. So it's kind of ironic that it's within this series when it doesn't really fit here technically, and the only reason why it is here is on just that, a technicality. It's technically a hot hatch, but in reality it's a sleeper. So if that appeals to you, certainly check out the 207 GTI. However, if you're a hot hatch fan, there's no real need. But overall, that's it for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.